All right, welcome to the Max Effort Kitchen podcast. I am your host. We are your host. My name is Matt. This is Cornell. If you listen to us, you probably know who we are. And if you don't listen to us, you probably still know who we are. No, I'm joking. But Cornell, how you doing this weekend?
I am all right. Getting through either allergies or a cold or something. The throat was real scratchy, I think, Thursday night, and then felt kind of crappy Friday. But I was starting to feel crappier Friday, but I still went into the gym and gave it all I got and didn't disappoint. And then yesterday I felt worse, but I was also just beat to hell from Friday. And then today different things are feeling weird, and it's feeling much more like allergies, but who knows?
Yeah,
I should pull through. I should be
right. I think I'm gonna make it. No, it's kind of that time of year, I guess. I don't know. I've heard people say, well, the transition makes you sick. And I'm like, I don't know if I buy that. But like in our house, it's the kids, they bring it home from school and then we cycle it through our house for like a month and then it goes away.
Sure. I do get allergies when there's a fast change, like
really?
Down where we have Santa Ana winds. And when those kick in, it's I gotta hold on for
I mean, I feel like the change up here is, I don't know. It starts in like the second week of August and you feel the sun being a little less hot. And, but I don't know, this year has been a pretty smooth transition between, the seasons. Before we get started, got to get some, stupid plug things out of the way or just reminders. Next week, we have a special guest coming on, Mr. Matthew Konar. He's actually going to be joining me in the studio. He's currently in Portland right now with his sister, but he's not going to be at my house until next Sunday. So please tune in for that show because that'll be a good one. And then the following weekend, we got two big events going on. We got Cornell. You're competing, correct?
Correct.
All right. And then the podcast here is doing something a little outside of the box, which we are going to, well, I say we, but like there's going to be a number of people that are going to be coming on, but we're going to be doing the live stream and commentary for our WSO weightlifting meet. It's, I threw it out to Joe and I was like, I'll totally do this. Not really being fully aware of the the commitment. Totally fine. And, when I commit to something, I'm just going to do it. But 12 hours a day, which funny thing about that is YouTube caps you at 12 hours of live streaming. So I'm like, it's a hard out, bro. Like, so if there's anything that happens, like, hard out, or we'll have to reset it. But that's going to be going Saturday, Sunday. So we will most likely not have an athlete and chef next week. So just keep that in mind. Fun things. And then we'll recap your weightlifting meet on the following show.
Cool.
Figure. Yeah. Cause you're going to Tennessee the day after, correct?
I leave Tuesday and then I come home Thursday.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
you'll be back for the next week's show.
Yeah, I'll be back. Cool. I gotta work still. So
could you imagine? Okay, so this is a complete side note, dude. Like I was thinking about this today. I couldn't imagine it because I would always try to find something for myself to do. But could you imagine a world like if like you just, you had the endless amount of zeros in your bank account and you were like, you know what? I don't have to work. Is that like in your DNA? Because I don't know about you, but I'm like, I'm still going to find something that's going to be considered work.
I've thought about that and talked about it with people before.
Yeah.
I think I'd still do my job, but I would be very selective on what jobs I would take and what kind of customers I would be working with. Depending on like how much money, like if I really had like all the money and like didn't ever have to even like worry about paying a bill.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what we talked about probably 15 years ago. I was like, if I won like $100 million, where that I know I couldn't spend, like I was doing a different time. I owned a different business at the time, and I was like, I would probably just do work for free for people, but it would be like only the people that I really like.
Right. Right.
Like I would enjoy it. And what I would be more doing is keeping my friends who are working with me, like keeping them employed and keeping them having good lives kind of thing, instead of just me going out there and trying to make more money.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think for me, I've always had a dream of like, having this like kind of compound where I live with that has a gym on it, that has a couple things that I do. But like, I also appreciate getting away from the house. So I wouldn't want to like build all of my stuff there within the house. And I've gone back and forth with it. I'm like, I think I would just get like a line cook job, 4 or 5 hours a night, maybe 3 nights a week. Sure. At a maybe a fancier restaurant and have some fun, or maybe not, maybe like a pub or something, like, and just like get back to like cooking for fun, and like, and that, I think that would be a lot of fun, but I don't know. I
could see like a chef's choice menu. Like you get to eat what the chef wants to make that day.
Yeah. And man, that would be fun. That would be awesome. Yeah, no, that would be totally cool. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to call him my idol or anything, but one of my favorite chefs that I follow, his name is Francis Mulliman. And this dude bought an island. He literally bought an island right off of Spain, I believe. And he throws these massive, like long, like farm table type dinners where he brings in a crew of like 50 guys and they cook everything on fire. And it's all open fire, underground fire. Everything is outdoor cooking. And I mean, if you find him on Instagram, he's cool to watch. You won't be able to understand him unless you know Spanish. But it's that would be pretty freaking neat. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, let's just own an island.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question for you.
All right.
Do you hunt?
Not officially.
Yeah.
I've shot animals, but when you're like 12 and there's a bird and you got a BB gun, you're like,
yeah, totally.
You're like, I think I can hit that, and then you shoot it, and then when you're like 9, you're like, oh, I just killed something. I feel kind of bad.
Yeah.
So I haven't officially been hunting, but I do plan on it.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. And like, I have a really good friend coworker that was telling me about how he's going on some hunting trips coming up because it's that time of year. And I'm like, man, and Jack and I have been doing some fishing, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll wait till he gets a little bit older, and knows and feels comfortable around a gun, teach him all that stuff. And then I think I'm going to try it. And I'm really excited. I think it'd be a cool thing. When I was, I'm going to say 9 years old. Yeah, about 9 or 10. I had a stepdad that was a very big hunter, and he would bring back, 2 to 3 deer, maybe some elk, every season.
Okay.
And we were on a dairy farm, and he would always insist, because I didn't want to, because I was younger and I had the smell, but he would insist that I help skin them, because we'd skin them and then hang them in the barn. And that experience is something I'll never forget. And I hated it at the moment, because he gave me this little like pull out buck knife, and he's like, here we go. What am I supposed to do with this? And the smell stays on you for, a couple days. There's not much soap that can get it off, but it eventually comes off. I don't know. I just think it would be a very neat experience and very kind of calming experience. And people are like, you're killing animals, but the way you go about it, I think, is really cool.
Sure. Yeah. No, I told my brother-in-law, because he I don't even know if he hunts, but he kills a lot of stuff and then they eat it. He has a farm on his property, so they do pigs of all shapes and sizes. They do chickens. They do all kinds of stuff. And he asked me a couple weeks ago if I wanted to come over because they were going to butcher a pig, and I wasn't able to, but my kind of belief is you should know how to do it, even if you don't have to do it. So
I agree.
We don't know what the future is, but I would much rather if something happens and the whole world goes to hell, I'd rather have skinned and pulled the meat from an animal before I have to.
Right.
So,
I'm with you on that. I mean, you know my story. Or like when I got out of culinary school, there was probably 5 years where every year, I would butcher. I'd get a half a pig and I would break it down in my house. And I'm talking like an 800 square foot like townhouse. It took up a lot of space, and I'll tell you, like Alana's like, I'm leaving for the day, and that was we didn't even have. Oh yeah, no, we had Maddie, I think it's a really important thing to do and to know how to do, because you're right. You never really know, right? Like there's so much crap out there that goes on that we just don't know what's going to happen. I think it's a skill that everybody should learn.
Yeah, I've been around fishing long enough with the ocean where it is, and I've gone on probably a dozen, like not necessarily deep sea fishing, but like day trips, and I've seen it that enough, and I bought like full fish, so I'm totally comfortable with that. I know fish is a little bit different than a 1,200-pound cow, but I've also seen there was a show that was really cool on Netflix called Winning Alaska, and there was a scene in that where they do shoot the cow. The camera pans away, shows the guy shoot the cow, pans back to the cow. It's now on the ground, and literally like 2 minutes later, it's steak. And I'm like, that goes from cow to steak real quick.
Yeah, it really does.
But for some reason, I feel like I would be more comfortable chopping up a cow than I would a pig. I don't know why, but I know more about beef than I do about pork. Maybe just because I know so much more of the cuts, and I know which meat comes from where and that kind of a thing. And a pig is just a pig. I know there's bacon, there's pork chops, and there's ribs. I don't know what the rest is. I guess there's pork butt.
The only thing, the biggest difference, because the breakdown of one sec here, just making sure my Wi-Fi is good. The breakdown of a pig and a cow are kind of similar on how the primary cuts are taken apart. Most animals are, but the biggest difference is the parts are bigger on a cow, and so you just need a bigger knife and a bigger saw. You got the ribs, you got the Boston butt, you got the shoulder. It's all pretty easy, and like literally you could look at it, find one online and just hold it up and be like, okay, those are the primary cuts, and then from there you got to know how to learn how to do the rest of it. But again, in this age of the internet, like anybody can pull that up and figure out how to do it real quick. It's
until you have to do it and the internet's down.
Oh, okay. Good point. Well played. I
did see a video literally today of this woman who's like, I'm going to make chicken pot pie from scratch. And she goes and grabs a chicken, snaps its neck, walks over to this thing. I think she puts it in water first, and then she walks over to this other thing and just starts churning it. And it comes out and all the feathers are off. I'm like, oh, that was real easy. And then all of a sudden it just looked like a whole chicken you'd buy from the grocery store.
Interesting. Yeah, start with a chicken. Chickens are super easy, and turkeys. You just work your way up. Luckily, I have a handful of books that I've gathered over the years that would be able to teach. Like if I wasn't here and Alana had to do it, which they would probably just not do it, and I won't go that route, but they would just eat grass. I think it's a really good skill to learn. And that's kind of like, raising, and because, raising a son, you kind of want him to be, show him some fundamentals of being a man. And maybe that's like super stupid to say these days, but I still believe in like the man kind of, having those kind of skills. I want to teach my son how to do that stuff because, like, just set him up for life.
Yeah, I mean the goal for all of this kind of stuff that we're talking about, like if everything hit the fan, the goal is for it not to hit the fan, for us never to have to use it. But it's also much better to know how to do it and not need to do it than to need to do it and not know how to do it.
Very much agree with that. So cool. Well, there has been some talk on the polo, and I think I've heard a couple of things on Instagram about this, and I really wanted to pick your brain a little bit and see what you think about it, because I have a very specific thought on this idea in weightlifting that you actually had sparked the thought, and then I kind of went down a rabbit hole. But like the idea of chasing numbers as a competitive athlete, like chasing numbers, when is it good? When should you do it? Like, should you, or like chasing qualifying numbers? Like, what, to me, anytime, like I have a big beam in my garage here. About a year and a half ago, I wrote 2 numbers up there, and I've hit one of them. No, I've hit both of them actually. Yeah, I hit both of them. But when like I have them there, and that's cool, but I don't think about them too much until it becomes that day. So I've always felt that when I walk into a session with a set of numbers that I have to hit, I never hit it. Mm-hmm. So what's your thought on the whole idea of chasing numbers?
There's so many phrases that have been out there that are all over Instagram. And honestly, I'm so close to just being done with Instagram, because
you and me both.
It's not what it was when it started. It's not even what it was 2 years ago.
I know.
It's like I saw someone that I hadn't seen in a couple of years, and I clicked on their link, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy was like a great weightlifter. Now he's just making content and trying to be funny, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm glad I'm not following him. Like, there's a reason I don't know what the reason I unfollowed him, but I just look at so many people. I'm like, what is the freaking point anymore? Like, are you all trying to be movie stars and you're not? Come on.
No.
But one of the things that I remember hearing so many times is like the person who enjoys running will enjoy the run more than the destination kind of thing. Right. So like I've always looked at, if you like weightlifting, enjoy weightlifting. If you're just trying to go and win things and prove to yourself that you're more than your parents told you ever were, blah blah blah, and you're trying to get through all that crap that you should probably just go to therapy for. Like, I think that if you love weightlifting, you should just do weightlifting. And then I'm not saying that there shouldn't be goals, but I think that people put too much emphasis on like a qualifying total. And I see this all the time, and people will put the pedal to the floor for as long as they can and get so burned out, and then not make that qualifying total that they're just dreaming about. Mm-hmm. And then they just quit. And it's a bummer, but it's like, so are you doing this because you enjoy it, or are you doing this because you need to think you're going to do something with your life in weightlifting? And I remember on our old team, I had a couple conversations with a few people, and I was like, hey, I know that the coach has said like you're going to go to the Olympics, but you're 31 years old. Mm-hmm. You're not snatching body weight. You're not going to the Olympics. You're not going to win nationals. Right. You're not going to, I don't even know if I didn't say this part, but like, I don't even think you're going to realistically qualify for those things. And what I did say is the people who go to the Olympics for weightlifting, they don't really have a choice. They are so good. They are just being led in the direction that they are going. They're not saying to themselves like, oh, I'm just going to put in some time and I'm going to go to the Olympics. It's like, no, that process probably never, they're just strong and they're just good at it. And then everyone else paved the way for it. Mm-hmm. So like, I know some people who are just chasing this AO final entry total. And I did talk to one of the guys a couple months ago, and I'm like, I don't know if it's worth it. I don't think this is the year. Like, I think you should just keep trying to build up that base and then see how it goes next year. And then he is so burned out. He's got a competition this weekend coming up, and he is just like, he's thinking about pulling out because he's like, this is the worst cycle I've ever done. I'm like, you've only done like 3.
Yeah.
It's not like you've been doing this for 10 years. And then just little comments that he's made where it's like, oh yeah, someday I'll be on the podium at Pan Am. So I'm like, really? Because I don't think you are.
Pan Am
but
Masters?
Seniors. We were watching the Pan Am games, and he was like, someday I'll be up there. I'm like,
oh wow.
All right. So I just think that it's hard where this sport will always win. You're never gonna win. You might accomplish things, but you're never gonna beat this sport. And the best thing that you can do is enjoy what you're doing and not put all your worth in qualifying for these things. And sometimes I feel kind of weird saying some of this stuff, and I preface it when I talk to a lot of people where I'm like, I know that I have won all these competitions, but if I went, like, I can tell you that when the competition's over, nothing is better. Like, you're just kind of like standing around going like, well, I just put a year and a half of my life into this and now it's over. Now what?
Yeah.
And I told this guy, I said that the worst time in weightlifting is when I was chasing qualifying totals. And once I kind of just said, if I make it cool, 6-8 months later, I qualified above and beyond what I needed to qualify with. But it was because I took so much pressure off myself and I just started having fun again. And I was training with people, and it wasn't like, you're not gonna get where you want to go being alone on an island. Like, you need to have that team around you that everyone's lifting you up.
Yeah, you have a lot of good things there. I want to preface a little bit with, we're not the old guys trying to tell you that it's not worth it. Obviously, if you think it's worth it, you do what you need to do. But just like more of the guys saying, hey, we've been doing this for a little bit and we kind of understand the process a little bit more, which is don't listen. There's no, I might be contradicting things that other people have said, not necessarily you, but like, I don't think there's a rush. You're going to be able to compete if you're in it to win it. Like, if you're in it for a long haul, you're going to be able to compete for a very long time. And I'm 44, you're 43 or 42. And like, we're still competing. Now, are we questioning that? Maybe, who knows? But there's people that compete up all the way till they're 70s, 80s. So the one thing I always like to remind people is like, there's no rush. You have until 35 to compete in the seniors. Actually, you could probably compete in the seniors
as long as you want. If you're making that qualifying total, you can compete in seniors as long as you are good enough.
Exactly. And what I think happens, and this is just, I'm going to base this off assumption because this is what I assume, is that I think people see the stuff on Instagram and they're like, hey, I want to do that. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. And this age of like, we have to have everything right now, is a very much a bad thing in the world of weightlifting. I am 6-7 years in, and I'm just getting to the point where I feel comfortable taking wax at a snatch that I've never seen before, or just going to a place that I've never been in lifting, or even not thinking too much walking up to the bar. There's a lot of evolution and progression that comes over the years of weightlifting that you've put in. So remember that, like, the idea that you're just going to go out there and do this right now and get it right now is it's kind of, to me, it's a fool's errand, because you got to be developed. You may have, look at it this way. If you're 2 years in and you're like, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to be on Pan Ams. Cool. Well, you have a long time to do it, but like, develop your weightlifting technique, develop your strength, get that to the point where when you do get there, you're not just qualifying, you're getting on the podium. You have a chance to win a medal. And that comes down the line. I mean, it's not often that you find a weightlifter that can just like jump into the sport and 2 years later they're winning, they're on their podium on all these international events or making teams. Sometimes it happens. I know that. I've seen it happen, right? Sester, I think, is one of those people that did it. But at the same point, we're not all built like Sester. We don't have those kind of foundations.
We also don't know what, like, and I know somewhat, but a lot of people don't know what his development was getting to that point.
Correct.
Because from what I kind of remember, he was a pretty high-end CrossFitter.
Yeah, not like, and it was maybe like regionals at the highest, but that was it.
But he had this big base, so then he comes onto the weightlifting scene, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, this guy just showed up." It's like, he's got years and years of foundation right there.
Correct, and that's a good point. That's a really good point. But also look at him now. Like, he's been on the world team or the USA team for 2 or 3 years, and I mean, he's fighting. He's still fighting to win. He's still fighting to be a part of it and all that stuff. And so, like, he could attest. Like, it takes a while. You have to. It's like, this is such a stupid analogy. It's like a fine wine. No, but it's true. You do have to age, and you have to get into different scenarios. You have to experience things that you haven't. You have to experience a cycle by yourself in a gym or in a garage, like just pushing through it, and you're the only one. Like, these are things that, like, you learn a lot about yourself. And I think when we're just thinking about the reward or the numbers or the glory that comes with what we're going to get, you're just stunting yourself, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that was all very well said. I think the other thing that kind of comes back to the Instagram is there's so many Instagram lifters out there now as well.
Yeah.
And same with, I'm not trying to throw shame on like Europeans and non-Americans, because I might have a little more insight than the basic people who've been lifting for a year or two, but a lot of these people are on a lot of stuff that helps them get strong faster.
Yeah. And
if you go into your typical weightlifting gym, like I go to a gym that is very not typical. It is like, it's like not normal. There's 100 and something weightlifters, and all we do is weightlifting. Your typical weightlifting gym, you're lucky if you've got 20, 25 weightlifters there.
Yeah.
And it's in the back room in a CrossFit gym.
Correct.
The majority of those lifters aren't even thinking about drugs. And they just look at everybody else and they hear, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it, they hear the lie that America is clean. America is not as clean as people think that it is. They're just pretty good about taking stuff that doesn't work very well, and it's out of your system very quick.
Right.
So they're seeing so many people like that who are still on, and they say like a little bit of drugs, the first little bit of drugs goes the biggest first step. So they don't understand that like half these people who are out there snatching 60s, 70s, clean jerking over 400 pounds, they've probably had some help.
Right.
And especially the ones who aren't 350 pounds of body weight. So I think that there's a lot of that also going on, where new people come into the sport and they're like, oh, I want to do this and I want to win this. And but America's clean. Those guys are clean. If they're clean, then I should be able to do this clean. And it's like, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, no, you bring up a really good point. And that's also part of like learning about the sport. You can't just, I heard a saying the other day, because there's some stuff going on in the business that I'm a part of. And we were talking about like, possible purchases or whatever, but like one of my coworkers was like, never rush into a major debt. Right. So like never rush into buying a home. Find the home you want. Find, get get the home that's going to fit for you, because you don't know how long you're going to be there. And B, you're spending hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions these days on that home, but like never rush it. Like there's always going to be really quick roads to, cut corners to get places, but no one wins that way. And you may have like your 15 minutes of glory in a second, but like no one does. And it's a proven fact that you just can't skip processes and actually be successful. You got to go through the freaking dirt, and not even like, and I'm not saying that in a way that's like, oh, you got to be in the dark all the time. No, you don't. There's something to be said about somebody who enjoys what they're doing. Like, I talk about this in the career aspect a lot, which is I've always been chasing a career where I love what I do at the base of it. Yeah. Do I have challenging days? Absolutely. More than you think. But I can always go to bed at night and say, hey, I chose this. It didn't choose me. And I actually love what I do. And if I ever wasn't doing what I'm doing, I would feel my identity would be very compromised. And so, and that maybe that's some superficial shit, but to me, it's like deep in my heart. And so I feel the same way about weightlifting. Like there's no reason to rush it. And there's no reason to be on this like fast track to be on a podium. My last comp was the first time I got on a national podium, and it was third place, and I was stoked. Like I talk about it and people are like, oh, you got third place. I'm sorry. And I'm like, F you. That was awesome. Like I was really proud of it. And I still am. But like you said, after that competition's over and you're walking down the hall and your like medals are cling, 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 cling. You get back to your hotel room. You're like, okay, what next?
Yeah.
So you got to be prepared and you got to put in the time, and I just don't chase the numbers, chase your dream of being a weightlifter maybe, or reevaluate what you want. I don't know.
Yeah. After Worlds, we've talked a little bit about that on maybe the last show or the one after that.
Yep.
But after I won that, I legitimately was going like, should I just be done? Like, should I just walk away on top?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just one of those, like, if all I was doing was trying to win Worlds and I know a handful of people who they have won it multiple times. So I was like, I don't need that. I'm secure enough in my own self that I just won. Why would I want to try to win again when I'm at the top? I could walk away and just be at the top. And you're going to see my progression through the years of getting 4th or 5th place one year, getting 3rd place another year, getting 2nd place another year, and then getting 1st place. Like you're going to see that progression. You're not going to see me getting 1st and then getting 4th and then getting 8th. And then, he aged up. So he got 2nd and like those kinds of things.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just so much more to this sport than, going straight to the top. Like we know, and it's, I attribute it to the lesson I learned pretty early in life about sports, which, when I was, let's just say a sophomore in high school, I had a lot of success in football, and I played a little bit of junior college football, and I played some in Australia, but I quickly learned like, this is not a path for me. Like there's no way that I'm going to be able to excel. And that was straight up because of my stature, my speed, and my strength. Now, if I had different priorities, maybe I would have made it somewhere. Who knows? Probably not. But it's a good lesson to learn that, like, it's a sport and it's going to set your timeline, but the thing about weightlifting is that there's a proven path of success, of longevity. And to me, that the longevity is the success part. And I know you and I kind of have a little bit of opposing feelings, like when I walk into a meet versus when you walk into a meet. And I don't know if it's because of the success you've had, or if it's because of the way that I entered the sport, or just like my mentality. Like my mentality is like, I want to go for the experience, but I know that you're very serious about like, I want to go to win. Like I'm going to win that thing. And I don't think there's any wrong way of thinking about walking into a competition, as long as you walk out feeling like that you accomplished the goal that you walked in there to get. And, you know, when I win medals, I'm like, this is just extra for me, you know, like this is awesome. And I don't have a ton of medals, you know, I have a stack over there, but that's cool. But for me, it's the experience. And I think that if anybody's listening to this can kind of gather from what I was just saying, is that like everybody has different goals and different objectives. And that's what's so beautiful about this sport.
My guess is my mindset is probably a little bit different than yours, because I have this meet coming up will be number, I think, 39.
Exactly.
Official. So I've done, if you count the one on the beach that got disqualified, and then there was another one that I did that was in a CrossFit gym that they wanted to do a weightlifting meet, but they didn't want to go through the work of even getting kilos. So, and then let's not even count any of those online fake things that happen.
Yeah.
So, but I've competed at 40 meets, and I've probably helped coach at meets that I'm not competing at least another dozen. So I've been I've been involved in well over 50 meets. And I think that's probably a big difference, where my mindset is I have something to do and I'm going to go do my best to do it. In the beginning, it was much more like, the competition. Let's go see if we can hit a PR today. So,
and that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because like, that just goes to like say that, like, you know, you've probably doubled my time that I've been in the sport. And so, that just goes to show you the evolution of the way, you know, a lifter goes. And not saying everybody's going to take the same path as Cornell, right? But like, he has the track record. He's been down the road, you know, he's in freaking, Colorado, and you're still driving in Utah. So it's like, you know, I'm full of the stupid analogies today.
No, I just, when you were talking earlier, I thought of the perfect analogy with the bar, where I said the bar's always going to win.
Yeah.
The bar is winning when it's on the ground.
Yeah.
The only time it's not winning is when it's over your head.
Yeah.
And how long is it on the ground versus overhead? And you can only hold it there for a certain amount of time before it has to go back to the ground, and it's ready to go again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
agreed.
Like, it's always going to be ready.
Yeah. It recovers really quick in comparison to us. And I don't care if you're like, I pulled it up to my nipples. Yeah. A Clark is still the bar winning. Always and forever.
Exactly.
But go ahead.
Weightlifting House, they talked long time ago, and this did like resonate with me, where they said, I've always respected the people who got into this sport, said, I want to go 40-70. They chased those numbers. They hit those numbers 3 or 4 years later. I mean, we're not talking about 35-year-old people. We're talking about probably 21-year-olds who just finished college, who did sports all the way through.
Yes.
They hit 40-70 and they're like, cool, I accomplished that. What's next? And they move on. They're like, I hit the goal that I wanted to hit, and now I'm going to move on from there.
Yeah.
And the problem when I heard that analogy is I had already possibly hit 40, and I hadn't hit I'd clean 70 maybe.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm basically there, and I'm not ready to be done. So my numbers were higher than that, but who knows? If I ever hit those numbers, that would be cool. But if I don't ever hit them, I'm totally fine with that too.
Right. And that's, you know, you've accomplished a ton, in the sport. And so there's something to be said about that too. And I, you know, I mean, I also think, I guess the last thing I'll say about this is, like, you know, you can chase numbers to the end of the day. Like you're going to hit your goals. Guess what? You're going to put some new numbers up there. And then you're going to be chasing those numbers. And then you're going to hit those numbers. And then you're going to, there is going to be a day that you put numbers out there that you never hit. And that's all about your outlook. You could go down the line and be like, check the game tape. Let's look at this. I hit this goal, this goal, this goal, and this goal. I podiumed here and I bombed out here and I did this. But what you've done is you've created, now, I'm not going to say legacy or a journey, but you've created an experience in your life, something that has made your life more fulfilled. And I really appreciate the sport for that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that I don't remember which coach said it. It was either Dave Spitz or Don Ricci, but they were talking about some people say that weightlifting builds character. But then the other person, so they're both talking about each other, but I remember it was one of them who said it. Weightlifting builds character. And they said, no, it doesn't. It reveals character. Oh. So it can build some, but it will reveal what your character really is like. And if you're just going to have a tantrum and quit because things aren't going your way and retire 15 times and just walk away and then come back because you don't have anything else that you're doing, it's like that really reveals what kind of person you are. And that's correct. What they say, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Like I know tons of people who they can't hold down a job. So they just jump from job to job. They can't, they burn all the bridges where they're living. So they just move and move and move. They and you look at their weightlifting and it's like, it's the same thing. It's like, well, this isn't going well, so I'm going to try this. And then that's boring. So I was better at weightlifting. So let me go back to that and those kinds of things. And I think that's just like, it shows you who you really are. Yeah. So,
yeah, it is a very good reveal of character. And I really like that. That was a good saying. Well, Cornell, we're sitting at 42 minutes. I know that you're not feeling the best, so we'll keep this one nice and brief. That was a great conversation. I'm sure we probably could have go way longer in that, but I would probably start repeating myself. So anyways, everybody like I said, next weekend, Konar's on here. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about like counting cards because he is the wizard at that. And although he probably won't give us his full secrets, but he'll probably divulge a little bit. So that'll be a fun one. Cornell, man, I hope you feel better and you have a great night. And I think that's it. So everybody, thank you for watching and we'll talk to y'all later. Adios.
Bye.